Hey friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are going to take a little tour of the backyard flower beds that we installed not quite 2 years ago. And so it is the end of July. August is like right around the door. We are in North Carolina, zone 7B, so I thought it would be a great time to kind of show you how this garden is doing in the dog days of summer, because it is hot, it is humid, and yeah, so we have some great successes, we have some messes as always. So I am just going to take you along and show you kind of the status of the flower bed and the gardens, and just kind of give some tips and tricks and things maybe that I'm going to change and things that I'm very happy about. Just all the good things, like two friends walking through the garden together. So here we are right off the patio. You can kind of get a perspective of where we are. So this is, you can see obviously right, we're at this seating wall. The grass is doing fantastic, like I knew they would. And so the area that we're really going to be focusing on are these two flower beds right here. They are relatively new. Like I said, they are less than 2 years old, and they are, I say they are sisters, they're not identical twins. This flower bed to the left is going to be smaller than the one to the right. This gets all day full hot sun. We are currently out here at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and we are blessed with some cloud cover. So that is why we're taking advantage of that today. But if we didn't have the clouds, this would be definitely in the full sun already. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of start over here to our right, and then we're going to work our way around. In this flower bed, we have two trees. We have a slender hinoki, which has done really, really well. I was a little, let's say, timid, I guess, about how this sweet thing was going to do, and it is a very happy tree. So the slender hinoki doing really nicely. The grasses are kind of hiding the base of it, but it's spreading out quite nicely, and you can see that it's got great new growth up there at the top. And then we also have a cherry tree. This is an okami cherry tree, so it is an ornamental cherry tree. Beautiful flowers, early spring, and just is really filling in quite nicely. We planted that as a 15-gallon and have been very impressed with how this tree has done. The Japanese beetles have munched on it a bit, but not terrible, so that's a good thing. Right now, the star of the show, without a doubt, has got to be the Valentine's Crush Summerific Hibiscus. So Summerific Valentine's Crush, I did not deadhead it for you, so it's a little, it's a little messy, but it could be cleaner. So your blooms only last for 1 day, and then they'll dry up and fall down. But you can see all of these blooms that are out, brand new today, and you can see maybe like this one right here, those were yesterday's, where they're kind of curling up a little bit, and beautiful. So this plant has been in the ground for 1 season. This is its second full summer, just the 1 calendar year. But Valentine's Crush is the new and improved red crush hibiscus. It is very columnar. As you can see, it will get to be about 5 feet tall. I think it's 3 to 4 feet wide is kind of the specs on it. This is one plant, and man, I mean, it's just doing great. That's all I've got to say. You can, yes, you have to watch the Japanese beetles on your summerifics. You can treat them. That's what I do, but you can see that there are some, you can probably see those Japanese beetles right there. If you don't have Japanese beetles, oh, be grateful, because they are such destructive pests. They don't really have any natural predators. There's no organic solution that you can spray. So we use the Fertilome Tree and Shrub Drench. It is a mixture that you mix up with a gallon of water, and you pour it around the base of the plant, and it lasts for 1 year, so 12 months. But very happy with that. And then of course, complementing that are the Surefire begonias. This is cherry cordial. This is the new color for this year. The cherry cordials will do sun or shade, and they are filling in quite nicely. We did a mass planting of these guys right here, but they have that beautiful dark foliage with that nice kind of a cherry red bloom on it, yellow center. And by planting it, in a mass group, it has done quite nicely. Let's see. We're going to go to the front of the bed, and then we'll go around to the back. I still have some daylilies in here, so you might see a couple of daylilies as far as they're blooming. All of these daylilies came from a sweet friend of mine, Miss Wanda. Miss Wanda and her husband Jim are avid collectors and growers of daylilies. So if you see some in here, every plant is different. So we have different cultivars in here, and I just love having Miss Wanda's daylilies in my garden. The echinaceas were spectacular at the beginning of this season. They're starting to fade a little bit now. You can see here we've got the sombrero. This is a sombrero yellow improved. Definitely kind of looking a little rough, but that's all right. What we're going to do, because it was spectacular earlier in this season, they all were, and they bloomed a lot earlier than what I thought they were going to, and so now we're kind of at the end of that cycle, it seems. I will leave all of these old heads on there. Now, that's a personal choice. I'm going to leave them because the finches absolutely love to come and eat the seeds when they dry up. So I'm going to leave them for the birds. They may, you may still get some flush in there, but if that drives you crazy and you think it looks a little messy and you don't like it, go ahead and cut them back. It's absolutely fine. We've also got back here, I have different pugsters. So we have pugs, this is Pugster Blue, I believe. And so yeah, Pugster Blue. And we've got a beautiful swallowtail back over here, hiding between that and the doozy. So you can see right there, I mean, that's a massive butterfly. Just going to town, having a grand old time, and you will notice that the pugsters and the spireas are growing nice and close to one another. I want it to be filled in here, so I've got 3 of the double play doozy spireas. They are beautiful. These are sterile spireas that, because they are sterile, they will continually put out new growth and new flowers. So all those red tips right there, that's the new growth. And if you look closely, you will see that there are buds on top of there. Right here, got some that are flowering. They are kind of a nice raspberry pink color. Yeah, so we love the doozies. And then I have, look at this sweet little tree right here. It's more like a shrub. Just so sweet. It is a ginkgo, but it is like a ginkgo shrub. It is the male variety. It is sterile, and so it's going to be more like wide and low, but it's got really nice tight foliage on it and just gives a really, really fun, different kind of texture to the garden. Did not realize though how much bigger my echinacea we're going to get. The ginkgo is definitely a slow grower. So this is a maidenhair, and maidenhairs are going to be slow. So eventually it'll fill in and all will be well. We have 2 of the Fairy Trail Bride hydrangeas in here, and they are definitely a bit on the struggle bus for sure. Now, we took a big hit with that Arctic blast back at Christmas time, and all of my fairy trails died completely down to the ground. So everything that you see right here is brand new growth. When we were just at Spring Meadow talking with Dr. Judson LeCompte, and he was saying that they do well if you can put them in a bit of a protected area, especially in the wintertime, so that they don't have that dieback. So I will be moving these come fall, early winter, so that they can get established somewhere else and get a little bit more protected. I have not had any flowers because fairy trails will bloom on old growth and new growth, and you can see, you know, I probably would benefit them to go ahead and fertilize them a little bit, either plant tone or rose tone, whichever one you have. Give them a little food, get them nice and darker, and maybe get some more growth on them. But I think, yeah, they're definitely going to get moved for sure. Here you can see how great that little hinoki is. Isn't that just a fun tree? I mean, that thing has some character. I do enjoy it for sure. Cheyenne Sky grass is doing really well. I love this grass because it only gets to be about 3 feet tall. And Cheyenne Sky, I think you can tell how it gets its name because it has, it is green, but then it has that beautiful reddish burgundy tips, and they are just starting to put on their little plumes. So really nice. This is a group of 3 right here. And yeah, just super easy, doing really, really well. One thing that I have been disappointed in this year, just gonna give it to you how it is, folks, is my annuals right here. So I have the high noon Europsis here and back there on the other side of that flower bed. They just have not performed well. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. They get full sun, we've got green growth, they're on irrigation, they're not getting too wet. They just have not bloomed. I mean, you can see we have some very, very sporadic blooms on them, but as a whole, not doing well at all. So that was just a little interesting sidebar there. Not sure what's going on with that. One plant that is definitely doing well, we have 3 of these. This is a calicasia from Southern Living Plants. This is the one that's not probably the showiest right now. I'll show you the other ones later. Waikiki. This is a new calicasia from them. This is going to be a tender perennial for me because it is hardy in zones 8A to 11B, I want to say, and we are a 7B. So I'll probably have to throw a little extra mulch on it this winter because I've got 1 in this bed and then 2 in the next bed. The sombrero, I'm telling you, sombrero series of echinacea. This is the Adobe Orange. Look at that. Is that just not gorgeous? Now, they are on the end of their bloom cycle. Yes, I got that, but still, I really am enjoying this. And earlier in the season, for a long time, they just had absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous color, nice and full and have some height to them, doing great. These are peonies right here. These were the Ito peonies. They did not bloom this year. That's all right. I am a patient woman. I will just kind of let them hang out, do their thing. The Amsonia hanging in there. Of course, Amsonia, that is the, forget which one, it's not String Theory, it's the other one. So the Amsonia is just hanging out. It is a storm cloud. There we go. Storm cloud, Amsonia. Beautiful early spring flowers of blue, just hanging out. It'll get some nice color this fall. Now, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is my new David Austin rose that you saw me plant in this unique stone container. Both my Elizabeth and my Nye Bevan, those are the 2 new introductions from David Austin as far as roses this year. They arrived later than what I anticipated. It was pretty late in the season to get the roses, and they were very small. I attribute that was the first year of them, and so they were on the smaller side. So they're just kind of hanging out. They are on irrigation. Probably wouldn't hurt to go back through and put a little bit more land and sea on top of them. But they're just kind of hanging out. And so they have gotten blooms off of them, but we have not seen massive rapid growth on them. Patience. Gardening teaches you patience. I have a friend though who just lives, I don't know, 10 miles up the road, and he got an Elizabeth too, and he's experiencing the exact same things. So that makes me feel a little bit better because I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? And Aaron was like, nope, mine look the exact same. And I was like, well, there you go. We're just gonna hang it out together and just wait on it. So Elizabeth is a nice, soft pink rose named after Queen Elizabeth for sure. Now, the last things kind of in this bed on the back side, here we have, you were with me, it was late in the season last year when I planted. I have 3 pearl glams. So pearl glam is a beauty berry and just a great, great shrub. They bloom on new growth. So here you can see that how this kind of behaves, right? So you've got, it blooms on new growth, like I said, so it starts at the bottom and works its way up with these really nice, cute little white flowers. Once those flowers are finished, and you can, I don't know if you can see, there's a bumblebee back there, she's hiding right now. Massive pollinator attractor, but once the flowers finish, then you start to develop the little berries. And these berries turn into the most brilliant fluorescent purple around October. So I was just looking at a picture yesterday, and it was October like the 9th of last year. These were stunning. I mean, that's why it's called a beauty berry, because just imagine all of those stalks with these fluorescent purple berries on it. Just fantastic. So they'll get to be pretty tall. They're taller than they are wide. I want to say in that maybe 4 to 6 foot range. And then down here we have an oregano. So this is the Drops of Jupiter oregano. It is blooming. We have a sweet little honeybee, a couple of other little pollinators out here on the Drops of Jupiter. Beautiful for me. This was an evergreen perennial, nice bright yellow color. And then of course you get these beautiful purple blooms on it that the honeybees and pollinators love. Sweet little honeybee over here, her little pollen sacs are just loaded, and so she's a happy girl right here. And I did plant them in 3. So the idea, of course, is that everybody fills in, and then even though I know, because you're gonna be like, well, why in the world did you plant a low growing perennial on the back side of the bed? Well, yes, it is on the back side of the bed, but you also have to remember we go on the back side of the bed. Like, we drive around here because we come through here. The garden shed's right there, the dahlia garden's right there. So we see this a lot from this angle. So there you go. Struggles, one more struggle for you. I like to be honest and share my struggles. My muhly grass. So this is white muhly grass. I do not know what has happened to this. This is, of course, if you're in a southern garden, you're very familiar with this. This is there's pink muhly grass and then there's white muhly grass. Really kind of those cotton candy plumes. Clearly struggle bus. 2 of them are barely alive, and then this one is gone. And so that just gives me opportunity to plant something here. So I'll have a nice big kind of wide open space because those grasses really do get tall and wide. So since they're done, that gives me an opportunity to plant something else there that will complement that Valentine's crush. So let's move on to the next flower bed here, which is the bigger bed. And you will notice there are a lot of the same plants, but there are some new ones. Of course, we have that other Valentine's crush right here. This one is a little bit smaller because we had in early summer, I don't know if I had a critter coming through here at night, if we had, because we didn't have wind, but both my Valentine's crush and my lilac crush up here at the front, one afternoon they were great and everything, and then the next day I would have like 4 limbs completely snapped down at the bottom. It's not Brenna, because Brenna doesn't come out here, she's not out at night, so it wasn't her. So I'm thinking I had some sort of critter walking through and snapping down my hibiscus. So this one took a good hit, I would say. But the great thing about those is that they do bloom on new growth, and they are very fast growers. So even though it's not quite as full as the other one, you can kind of see there in the middle where we have a gap right here. I think that's where those ones that got crushed, snapped, I think that's where it happened to. But look at all that beautiful new growth right there. That whole little cluster is all brand new flower buds. So that is gardening. You just kind of roll with the punches. The high noon on the struggle bus. Then we have a ginkgo tree, and this is a century. That's the cultivar. It is a male variety, so it is not going to be stinky. It does not produce seeds, and doing quite nicely. It is growing very well, got lots of good growth and branching on it, so happy with that. The pugster amethyst, another pugster in here, doing quite nicely. This one, I believe, is the one that took like a kind of a big hit this winter with that blast of cold air, but it has really bounced back really nicely. The luminary ultraviolet phlox, it is at the end of its cycle, so I could come in here and really kind of cut it down probably by 1/2. I might get another flush and I may not. So there you go. We have another Waikiki right here, the storm cloud, more echinacea, and then this is my hairy louder walking stick, and which is a really fun, funky shrub. Not a small tree, maybe. It's more for the winter interest because it is very contorted. And yes, guess what? Guess what loves to eat the leaves of my hairy louder walking stick? Those blasted Japanese beetles. And so that is what happens. So you folks that don't deal with Japanese beetles, this is what happens. They will completely just take all of that foliage and all those leaves, and just you're left with the veins, and that is it. Now, the good news is that they do not kill the plants, they just make them look awful. So here we have Japanese beetles, and they're like, oh, abort, she's gonna kill us. So that is a Japanese beetle. We should be getting to the end of our cycle with them, but again, clearly this plant was not treated, and this is what happens when it's not treated. So they just come in here and annihilate them. But the hairy louder walking stick is so fun. The good thing about the Japanese beetles is that you can see how contorted, right? I mean, look at that. It just naturally does this. So it is great winter interest, and it will be that small tree. Brenda is living her best life. Do y'all see that? That dog. She is happy girl. Are you happy girl? She is. My sweet little lilies over here, the little water lilies. I think they're called water lilies. They're yellow. I'll have to, oh gosh, I'll put the name up because I forgot what they're called. They are doing great. Very, very happy. And yeah, so that's a little fun little addition. Peonies, I've got tons of peonies in here. Of course, spring bloomers. We've got forsythia. Look how happy that forsythia is. That is a show off. So show off is definitely going to be gorgeous come next spring. Your forsythias bloom on old growth. So you might be looking at that and go, it's kind of wild and woolly, why don't you trim it? Well, if I do, then I'm gonna prune off all of my blooms for next year. So the time to prune your forsythia is at the end, like right after it finishes blooming. So a ton of that is all new growth from this year because I did prune it. But yeah, just imagine all of that in flaming yellow flowers. We've got blueberries in here, multiple different kinds of blueberries. Pugster pink. So Pugster pink is nice and full. Just a minute ago we had 2 swallowtails on this, but the Pugster pink, just lovely, lovely baby doll shade of pink. Now, coming back, because, yep, sharing all the things with you folks. Here we have, again, the muhly grass gone, so not doing well at all. Here I had my Firefly Sunshine, yeah, Firefly Sunshine yarrow. Was doing great. For some reason, it took a hit and it was looking rough. So when we were mulching the bed, I had everybody just trim them down to the ground. So if you have perennials that are struggling, whether it is yarrow, maybe it is your phlox over here, or an Amsonia, and you notice it's struggling, go ahead and prune it. Just go ahead and prune it. It'll flush back out and we will be doing just great. Now, every Southern gardener, and I know, so there is a quote controversy about magnolias. They are one of the most iconic Southern trees that you can possibly have, right? Magnolias synonymous with the South and Southern gardening. They're controversial because if you have a magnolia tree in your garden, it's like a blessing and a curse because magnolias drop leaves. So they are a messy tree. I have never, like growing up, we never had a magnolia because we didn't have enough sun. I have always wanted to have a magnolia tree. I may regret this in 20 years, I don't know. But right now, I am thoroughly enjoying this. This is a little gem, and little gem magnolia is going to be the smallest magnolia out there on the market. Beautiful, of course, evergreen tree, but we love magnolias because one, you can use the leaves for decorating. Like these are great greenery, like in around Christmas time, because the underside of the leaves are nice dark. These are new leaves right here, so they're not quite as dark. Here you go, see a beautiful brown. So you got brown on the underside and nice glossy green on the top. Japanese beetles don't like these, so yay for that. But you will see here that we have a beautiful bloom. So magnolias are, of course, those massive white saucer flowers that have a beautiful fragrance to them, like a lemony, sweet fragrance, just gorgeous. When we got married, I had a sweet friend of our family who had massive magnolias in her front yard, and she was kind enough, because we got married at the end of June, hers were blooming, so she was kind enough to let us come and we cut a bunch of the greenery and the flowers, and we use them for the reception to decorate. And that reception in the church just smelled so divine, of that beautiful magnolia scent. So they have a little special place in my heart for sure. The Agastache, this is the queen nectarine. I think Brenna is finding a critter or something in there because she all of a sudden got really interested in that. So this is the queen nectarine Agastache. You can see it's nice and vigorous, nice and tall, beautiful late summer bloomer that your pollinators are just gonna love. Just an absolutely gorgeous plant. Then we have more echinacea right here. This is the Summer Song Firefinch from Proven Winners, which will have different shades of kind of reds and oranges on it. End of the season, there you go. Another Fairy Trail Bride, she will get moved as well. And then here we go. Here's the Nye Bevan, that other David Austin Rose Struggle Bus. But we've got little buds on it. So we got a little bit of black spot in here, and then you can see that the beetles were kind of chewing a little bit on here. That's just a struggle, y'all, of growing roses in the South, especially this time of year. It just kind of is what it is for sure. I wish we could have done this video about 10 days ago, because this is the Julia Child rose, and it is a standard. Obviously, we say this is Emily's because Emily was the one that wanted to rescue this. But can you see all of those old buds right there? It was absolutely covered in blooms, and that was really the big second flush of flowers on this one. So I can come in here, trim it back a little bit, get rid of those rose hips, and maybe we will get another flush again this fall. So it is doing very nicely. And then I've got peonies all throughout. The one in a melon, it's also kind of on its end of its cycle. Massive, beautiful, like 5-inch echinacea flowers on it, beautiful cantaloupe color. But I'm gonna leave those heads because, like I said, my finches are gonna absolutely love it. If it drives you crazy, go in there and cut it back. Here we have a really kind of a nice specimen of the Waikiki. And so you can see with that Waikiki that you've got, right here, you've got this beautiful new leaf that is just now coming out, right? Nice and yellow, nice and furled up, and then as they come out, they will be a lovely green with that pink in the center, a little bit of cream, and a little bit of yellow. So on that same plant, you're getting lots of different color variations, 3x3, just lovely. A repeat of the Cheyenne Sky. Then we have the more of the Surefire begonias right there, that cherry cordial. So everything, we try to tie everything in together, right? So you've got between the Waikikis and the different echinaceas, and then of course the Surefire begonias, it all just kind of ties in quite nicely. And then of course our sweet, sweet beloved maple tree right here. It will need to get limbed up on the bottom. I believe we'll do that. I need to double check, but I think it is coming out of winter going into spring that we want to limb that up and trim it up. But this is a gorgeous, gorgeous maple tree that will give me stunning fall color. I need to put the name up because I always get this mixed up, which one it is, because there's so many different great ones out there. And so this is one that just gets a brilliant, beautiful foliage on it in the fall. And this is kind of a special, I love how plants hold memories. Do you have any plants in your gardens that hold memories? So this tree, we went down to 4 Holes, South Carolina, Cameron, South Carolina, Orangeburg, South Carolina, right around there. And so my uncle he has since passed away, and so this is why this tree is so special for me. But he has owned a nursery, Dothan Trees, and so Dothan Trees is a massive, like they grow big trees in the ground and service landscapers and just a ton of people, like all in the East Coast. Now, a lot of Charleston, that kind of area. But Jerry and I went, and so we got a tree from Uncle Tommy. And so this is one of his trees, and so I just adore it. And it is just, it's beautiful because we can see it. We placed it here. It gives us beautiful shade in the afternoon, but you can see right here, right there's the driveway. So in the fall, we can see it, and it is just spectacular. It is a very happy tree. So if you need a fast growing shade tree for fall interest, those maples are great. And so yeah, there you go. All right. Tour of the backyard here in end of July, beginning of August, and there are some definite successes. There are some areas that I'm just like, oh, we are on the struggle bus and we are going to rework this for sure. But you know, again, that's the thing about when you have a flower bed that is like brand new, and I consider a brand new flower bed, you know, it's not even 2 years old, right? When you think about like mature gardens, my mama has gardens that are like 40 years old. So a 2-year-old garden, brand new. You tweak it. You're constantly moving. You have weather conditions you absolutely cannot control. An Arctic blast, hello. Cannot control that. You do what you can do, but at some point you just have to say it is what it is, and what's going to happen is going to happen, and we're just going to adapt and change and just keep your, you know, be open to change, because nature will certainly do that for you. But we do enjoy these beds because we see them like just right off of the patio, and we're constantly looking at them and just gorgeous. But I try to have that 4 seasons of interest, right? We have a fall interest, we have evergreens, we've got spring interest with the trees, we've got the perennials of all the different things, the bloom times and interest, of course, and then you throw in the annuals for your continuous summer color. Just lots of fun. So my friends, as always, we hope you have found this fun, informative, and inspirational. We so appreciate you. Thank you so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a fantastic day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.